Good morning, Barry Bryson here. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word. We are continuing our study of the prophet Amos, which is part of our larger study of the writing prophets to the northern kingdom, or from the northern kingdom. And Amos is the last in the order that they are presented in the Bible of the three, the other two being Jonah and Hosea, of course. As we've already learned, and as we will learn in subsequent days, we'll remember in subsequent days, Amos is a southerner, but he's been sent to the northern kingdom to prophesy. And we're in chapter 5. Chapters 5 and 6 bring to a conclusion that section of prophetic oracles that begin with the phrase, "Hear this word which the Lord has spoken," which is the second part of the book. And so this is the last of those oracles in chapters 5 and 6. And we want to remind ourselves that when he prophesies in the middle of the 8th century BC, um, um, closer to the late mid-century, late 8th century, somewhere in the 730s, 740s. Times are good. It's under the reign of Jeroboam II. The northern kingdom is politically sound in terms of its stability as a kingdom, with a lot of injustice, of course, and they are militarily strong and they are prosperous. There's a growing class of prosperity, but that prosperity is had, as it always is, on the backs of those who are less prosperous. And that's one of the sins that's going to be talked about. Also, let's not forget that unlike Hosea, which was almost completely about idolatry and about going after other gods, and literally cheating on the one true God, Amos it talks about a variety of things, and in Amos, the social injustice is as important a sin as is the idolatry. In fact, they're all tied together, as we're going to see. But he makes more mention of the social, economic injustice that's going on than really any other Old Testament prophet, which has made him particularly popular among social activists, especially in our country. And we're going to read one of those verses today. We're in chapter 5. We're going to look at verses 18 through 27. Alas, you who are longing for the day of the Lord, for what purpose will that day of the Lord be to you? It will be darkness and not light, as when a man flees from a lion and a bear meets him. Then he goes home and leans his hand against the wall, and a snake bites him. Will not the day of the Lord be darkness instead of light, even gloom with no brightness in it? I hate, I reject your festivals, nor do I delight in your solemn assemblies. You offer me burnt offerings, grain offerings. I will not accept them, and I will not even look at your peace offerings, the peace offerings of your fatlings. Take away from me the noise of your songs. I will not even listen to the sound of your harps. But let justice roll down like waters, and righteousness like an ever flowing stream. It's one of Dr. King's absolute favorite verses. Did you present me with sacrifices and grain offerings in the wilderness for 40 years, O house of Israel? You also carried along Sikkuth, your king, and Kiyun, your images, the star of your gods, which you made for yourselves. Therefore, I will make you go into exile beyond Damascus, says the Lord, whose name is the God of hosts, the God of armies. There is so much here, and it is so straightforward. Again, we get in every line the appreciation of Amos as a speaker, as a writer, someone who just speaks so straightforwardly and vividly. He's saying to this nation, um, people are still waiting for the day of the Lord. The day of the Lord, spoken of throughout the prophets, the day of the Lord can mean lots of things, but the day of the Lord generally means the end of one era and the beginning of another. And sometimes the day of the Lord means Babylonian captivity, Assyrian captivity, the coming of the Messiah. In Joel, it's a locust plague. It can be an earthquake, or it can be the end of time. The coming of the Christ. Any moment in which history changes and something new starts is the day of the Lord. And he says to them, why are you longing for the day of the Lord? It's not going to be what you think it is. It's going to be darkness and not light for you. It just is going to be darkness and not light. I'll tell you what it's going to be like. That day for you is going to be like a man who escapes with his life fleeing from a lion and runs into a bear. And if he gets away from that bear, he goes home and leans his hand on the wall to catch his breath, and a snake bites him and he dies. It will be inescapable, and that's what's going to happen to you. Now, in verse 21, and we'll have to carry on there tomorrow because I've already taken up 6 minutes of your time. He's going to talk about their religious observances, those observances they pay to Yahweh, as well as those observances they pay to idols. We'll look at that next time. Thank you for joining me for another 5 good minutes with the Word.